You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor, subscribe to the channel, leave your comments below, and be sure to smash that like button.
I was perusing the interwebs earlier today, and something that ESPN does every year about this time is they put out their Future Power Rankings, their FPR. And they judge a variety of different criteria, like measuring, an average of the last 3 years of your results on the field and your recruiting, et cetera, to determine and try to project what the next 3 years will look like. And then they spit out this ranking and this metric, and they rank it all together, and that's how it looks. So, for example, number one, this probably is no surprise to anyone. Number one is the Georgia Bulldogs. Their future quarterback ranking is 4th, future defense ranking 1st, future offense ranking 3rd, future team ranking 1st. So, Georgia, number one. I was looking at this going, okay, let me scan it and see what stands out. But for me, quite honestly, the thing that stands out most is I don't know that we have a big enough sample size yet of the portal era to be able to try to project a year and 2 years and 3 years forward, especially not only that we're in the portal era, but also in a 12-team playoff era. How do we know? We don't know. We're all just guessing at this point what this may look like. But here's how I would summarize this ranking, especially as we look at the metric. So they look at as we mentioned, results and recruiting and returning players and production, all that stuff to try to project the next 3 years. And one of the metrics that they throw into is their future quarterback ranking. Well, 2 years ago, if we go back and look at the FPR 2 years ago for LSU, and they were projecting the quarterback rankings, we would have been talking about Walker Howard as part of that, right? Walker Howard would be going into year 3 at LSU, a 5-star with tremendous upside. Well, he hit the portal after 1 year. So what's to say next year the entire thing doesn't look different? Notre Dame, for example. Notre Dame on this list overall is 7th, saying they'll be the 7th best over the next 3 years. Well, Notre Dame's future quarterback ranking is 9th. Last year, they got Sam Hartman as a 1-year mercenary. This year, they got Riley Leonard from Duke coming in as a 1-year mercenary. How could we possibly try to project what their quarterback situation is going to be like over the next 3 years? That's the nature of the portal. When we look at Alabama, for example, Alabama overall in this entire ranking is 4th. Their quarterback ranking is 6, defense ranking 6, offense ranking 5, team ranking 2. Alabama just lost 40 players from last year's team. If you're looking at a 3-year rolling average of results and recruiting and retention, you just lost 40 players from last year's team. Half your scholarship players gone in 1 year. How can you possibly know what it's going to look like? So, in a way, I'm bringing up this topic and telling you it's pointless to bring up this topic because I don't think I could put anything into these numbers. For what it's worth, because we're obviously here in Louisiana and people care a lot about LSU, I'll tell you what they have to say about LSU. They do have the Tigers 8th. And there's 2 things that are just glaring about LSU. The future quarterback ranking, 8. Future defense ranking, 24. Now, obviously, when you look at how bad the defense was a year ago, it's going to skew downward. Future offense, 7. Future team ranking, 5. So they actually look at LSU as the 5th best team, just in the team ranking, over the next 3 years. 8th overall when you factor everything in, and obviously the defense drags LSU down. But that's kind of the other thing that's interesting. And what I really wanted to see was, okay, we've talked about the tiers in the SEC, right? And with this college football playoff era beginning, the 12-team playoff, the thing that I've said pretty commonly is, and I think everyone largely agrees whenever I bring this up, most people agree Georgia and Texas this year are going to be playoff teams. if you're 10-2 in the SEC, you should be in particular if you're Georgia and Texas. So Georgia's number 1 on this list. I think they'll be in. The number 2 team on this list is Ohio State. And then after Ohio State, number 3 is Texas, followed by Bama at 4. So 3 of the top 4 from the SEC, with Texas now being in the lead. But the conversation we've had all offseason, I promise you it's a conversation we're going to continue to have throughout this season because it's going to be a fascinating test case, is how does what is that next tier? If you look at Georgia, Texas right now, what does that next tier look like? The Alabama, LSU, Ole Miss, Tennessee, Missouri, all those teams that are right in that mix thinking they could be a playoff team this year. Where are they? Well, we told you. LSU's 8. Tennessee is 13 on the list. 2 spots after Tennessee is where you find Ole Miss at number 15 on this list. And then you got to go way down to number 20 where you'll find Missouri. And the interesting thing when you look at Missouri, like their total ranking and all that stuff, their future defense ranking and their team ranking, unranked. Not in the top 25. So if you're just looking at hierarchy, and again, I'm prefacing all this by saying I don't know that we can make much of anything of these numbers. But Georgia 1, Texas 3, Bama 4, LSU 8, then big drop-off, Tennessee, Ole Miss, Missouri, 13, 15, 20, respectively. So if you're looking at that pecking order, if top 3 are Georgia, Texas, Bama, LSU is next in line in that mix according to these metrics. It'll be interesting to see if Bama can maintain. Like, you'll know I'm fascinated by this, as are most people. But I'm more so than others because I got a lot of skin in the game on this one now because I keep yelling about Bama burning and everything. So can they maintain their place in the college football hierarchy? Or under DeBoer with Saban no longer there, do they drop down a few rungs on the ladder and maybe allow an LSU or an Ole Miss to leapfrog? That'll be an interesting thing to watch as the season plays out.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.